What is up, everybody? Nathan Lombardo here with Lambo Media, back with another video. And my, oh my, do we have a special guest today? Colorado Rockies starting pitcher Kyle Freeland.
What's up, everyone? I'm Kyle Freeland, starting pitcher for the Colorado Rockies. Welcome to Lambo Media.
Kyle, first and foremost, wanted to, start it off by, thanking you for hopping on, taking the time out of your off season to join me today. And I wanted to break the ice right away, but putting you on the spot, it's something that, maybe the viewers want to know. Toughest three batters you faced in your career so far.
Ooh, man, that is putting me on the spot right there. Number one is Juan Soto by far. The dude can just foul everything off no matter what you throw him, and he has such a precision eye that it's it's tough to get him out. And when you do, you feel a huge accomplishment. Number two for me would probably be Justin Turner. Obviously, in my division, over the past 5 years, we've had some battles against each other. He's gotten me, I've gotten him, but he's not very comfortable at bat. He stands on the dish, hands are hovering over the plate. He can get to a lot of stuff, whether it's down and away, up and in. He can do it. Number three would probably be probably Ketel Marte. Switch hitter. I face him from the right side, obviously, being a left-handed pitcher, and that's another dude that can, just battle you down, 10, 12 pitch at bat, and then end up, flipping a knockout there. He's also got a lot of thump. So, those three guys for me, I think are probably the top three guys of, fun to battle against, definitely. But also when they step to the plate, you're like, oh man, here we go.
You mentioned Justin Turner and the fact that he likes to, be snug and all over the plate. So he has the capability to cover the outside corner. As a pitcher, for you personally, maybe, it's not the same for everybody, but as a pitcher, are you trying to brush him off a little bit with it with the inside pitch early on?
Oh, absolutely. You got to let those guys who crowd the plate. You got to let them know that you're willing to go inside. You're willing to buzz their tower a little bit. Let them know that you're not afraid to go in there. Because hitters, in my eyes, and I believe this for a long time, is they can smell fear. They can see a pitcher when they're uncomfortable, when they're timid, when they're scared. They can see that and they start licking their chops. So a bit of an intimidation factor, is being able to have that confidence of going up and in and being accurate with that pitch and letting them know that you're not afraid to brush them back a little bit.
I love that. I love that mentality, Kyle. And, to transition away from that side of things, I want to talk a little bit about the current moment in time, the 2021 offseason, just wrapping up the 2021 season, obviously, in the playoffs going on right now. What does the current moment in time look like for you personally? Are you taking time off of completely throwing? Are you still throwing a little bit of flat ground work, or are you not throwing at all?
Yeah, no, I've shut down from throwing. I'm giving my arm a break. I'll start doing some, weighted ball stuff, some plyo balls, probably, middle of November. And then, start of December is when I'll begin my throwing program. I'm a strong believer that, the body and the arm needs rest. And, as a starting pitcher, it's very important for that arm to get that rest. And I've firmly believed in that for a long time. So I take my downtime to, get away from that, let the arm cool off, and give it about a month and a half or so before I start ramping things back up and getting it going again, knocking that rust off, and getting my arm ready for those first few bullpens in spring training.
In a month and a half from now, what does that progression look like for you building up to spring training 2022 and even the regular season? Because obviously you're not going to go in throwing 100% on a 90 pitch bullpen or even go straight into live AB. So for you personally, what does that progression build up look like for you?
Yeah, so for me, I've been doing some plyo ball work for the past couple of off seasons now. Figuring out what I like with them. Timing wise, when I want to start them, when to kind of back off a little bit, how I like mixing into my throwing program before and after, stuff like that. So that's one thing that I've toyed with, and I like starting it about 2 weeks before I start my actual throwing program. That way, I can start the movement of the throwing motion. I can get my shoulder to start getting those little muscles and tendons, getting that strength back up to where it needs to be to start that throwing program and progress. Then once I start my throwing program in December, I still do my plyos before just to, activate that shoulder, activate the arm. And the throwing program for me starts very light, 50, 60 feet for maybe, 20 throws or so. I'll do that, about 3 times a week for the first like 2 weeks. And then I'll start building up. I'll start lengthening out my distance, pretty much throwing day off, throwing day off, throwing day off. And obviously, as we get closer and closer to spring training, I'll eventually get to throwing almost every single day, getting quality long toss in, working mechanics, bringing it back in, doing flat ground with whoever my throwing partner is, and start working on some shape of pitches, getting that grip of pitches back, feeling confident with it again before you get off a mound. That way, you get that first bullpen session, you're not feeling lost on when you want to throw a changeup.
Uh-huh. And what are you working on improving the most here in this 2021 2022 off season? Is it more mechanical wise? Are you going to work on some new grips? What are you most focused on in this 2021 off season as far as improvement goes?
So I think for me, with my mechanics, with the amount of times that over the past 5 seasons that I've tweaked my mechanics, I think it's always good to continue to refine your mechanics, always get better at them. Because the smallest thing that gets thrown off in your mechanics in the middle of the season can, really mess up your season if you're not able to correct it. So understanding your body, how it's moving, stuff like that, I think is huge for me. So I'm going to continue to work on my mechanics down the slope, in flat ground, everything like that. When it comes to the actual arsenal, I'm constantly playing with the changeup. Over my career, I've probably had 10, 15 different changeup grips. So I'm always working on that one. And one other thing that I want to work on this offseason is kind of creating, 2 sort of different separations with my slider and cutter, kind of creating 2 different pitches with the same grip. That way I feel comfortable with the grip, but I can now understand how to get more depth with it and also, create more lateral action when I need it.
Absolutely. In 2021 season, we're going to backtrack a tiny bit. It was obviously very different for you, almost a 2-month late, debut for you, given the injury faced in spring training 2021, unfortunately, but it's going to happen in sports. It's bound to happen at some point in everybody's career. What were some of your biggest takeaways, following the 2021 season, as far as, looking back, what were some of your biggest takeaways?
For me, you said it, like injuries are going to happen. Everyone's going to get something at some point. You try to be as healthy as possible. You want to be on the field as long as you possibly can, but it just comes with the territory. Whatever sport you're playing, you're bound to stumble upon an injury. And sometimes they're self-inflicted by not taking care of your body. Sometimes it just happens. Like mine. In spring training, my arm felt incredible. The outings I had leading up to the injury, I was sharp. I was working on the things that I wanted, and then this thing just came out of nowhere. It was unfortunate, but you got to realize that you got to deal with it and move on and start that rehab process. But one of the biggest takeaways, that I had for this season, especially with the injury, is really this off season going into spring training, having a strong, hard focus on my health and on making sure that I'm doing absolutely everything I can to make sure that my arm is healthy throughout spring training going into the season. So there's, in my mind, zero chance that I can miss, a couple of weeks of the first part of the season or 2 months of the season. Because it ate at me. I was on the shelf for 2 months, watching my guys struggle, and that just ate at me.
Yeah, I love the mentality, and you mentioned that you're going to do anything in your power to stay as healthy as possible for as long as possible, and I think that's obviously important in any sport, but in particular in the game of baseball, because of the fact that it is a 162 game season and a very long spring training as well. And going back to that injury, your debut got pushed back to May 25th. How tough was it for you to get dialed back in and set back in after that tough stint right after returning from that injury? And then obviously having, a powerful, strong comeback, following those, tough few starts.
Yeah. So when I was making my rehab starts, with the AAA ball club in Albuquerque, I felt really good. I felt strong about my rehab process. I was seeing a lot of good results when I was in my rehab starts. So I was excited to get back to the big leagues and carry that right over. And it seemed like right after my first start was all right, but it was short. I was on a pitch count, going up against Jacob DeGrom. It wasn't exactly what I wanted, but you know what? I left the team and a chance to win a game. But after that one, it was just like kind of downhill. Like what happened here? Like it was, I was getting whacked all over the place. I wasn't hitting spots. I wasn't getting breaks on my pitches. It seemed like I was thinking way too much out there. But thankfully, I got good teammates and good coaches behind me that we were able to sit down, talk about some things, figure some things out, and make a couple tweaks. And sure enough, I think it was my fifth or sixth start after coming off rehab. It was against Seattle, and I had a really good start. I think I gave up 1 run over 6 innings, and right there is when it just clicked in. It's like, all right, that's a feeling right there, and I just held on to it. And I was able to do that for a long time, all the way pretty much through July, August. Had a hiccup late August, had 1 hiccup in September, but finished the season strong in those last 3 months, minus a few games. But it was kind of tough getting back into big league games after being hurt for 2 months. I didn't want to use it as an excuse, as this is your spring training buildup. But it's definitely not easy coming off 2 months of injury, being a starting pitcher, and having to jump right back into big league games.
Right, and you mentioned that breaking point with the Seattle Mariners game. Would you say that was kind of like a confidence break for you, Kyle, where it kind of just clicked confidence wise, or would you say that was just kind of a game that just made it all click?
I think it was a combination of everything, but it was definitely, I would say, like you said, a confidence. I would say more of a momentum shifter for me.
Okay.
That allowed my confidence to go into the right direction. I always try to have as much confidence as I possibly can out on the mound. Whether I'm getting my teeth kicked in or if I'm shoving it. I try to portray that confidence just because like I said earlier, those hitters, they can smell fear.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I think that Seattle start, myself and Dom, we were on the same page all game. We had a good game plan going in. We were executing pitches. We were seeing the results that we wanted on my pitches. We were getting the swings that we wanted. And that right there, after the game, we looked at each other, like, that's it. Like, hold on to that right there. Keep that feeling of what you were feeling out on the mound and run with it.
I like it. And you were talking a little bit about your changeup pitch grip and how it changes a lot. As far as right now goes, what does your changeup grip look like?
So I've been playing with it, and I've been talking a lot with our coaches, especially our bullpen coach. So I don't have I have big palms, but I don't have really long fingers. So I can't throw like a true circle change or anything like that. It's really tough for me to throw like a Vulcan or a split change, anything like that. So I put my ring finger on the outside of the horseshoe right there. And pinky and index fingers kind of long for the ride, and thumb acts as a pressure point on the underside. And I just think, get here, stay on top, and take this ring finger and just roll this seam over, to kind of create that somewhat of a 2-seam spin for me, where it still comes out looking like a fastball, but it has that 8-mile-per-hour difference on it, and it has that little bit of depth and a little bit of fade, to help really allow me to pitch with that off my fastball.
Okay, and speaking of off-speed pitches, another pitch that is huge into your arsenal as far as the 2021 season goes is your cutter. What does that cutter grip look like for you, Kyle?
So my cutter is, I choke it all the way back in my hand. I tuck my thumb underneath, and I just think about taking this ball and cutting it right in half when at release. I don't try to turn anything over. I don't try to throw it as a true two-seam fastball. I just try to take this outer half of the ball and cut it and act like I'm cutting it right in half with my 2 fingers to create that, that riding cut action, especially into righties, where out of my hand, especially if it's up, it's going to look like a true heater at the top of the zone in the middle. But when it gets to if they trigger on the swing, when it gets to their hands, it's on them, and it's an uncomfortable pitch for them. So it's one pitch, especially with Justin Turner, like we were talking about how he's on that dish. That's a good one for me to ride in on his hands and let him know that it's there.
I like it. I like it. And the flamethrower, what you blow right by everybody, your four seam fastball. What does your four seam fastball look like? Is it pretty generic, or is it a little unique?
No, it's pretty generic. That's it right there. I try to keep my fingers as close as possible, so I lose no velocity on it. Obviously, I don't have a extremely high heater like some other guys have. I think my heater plays up at times with the size of my arsenal that I have. But no, it's a pretty straightforward four seam heater. Just try to ride it right behind the ball and get as true of a four seam spin as I can get.
I love it. And 3-2 count. We're gonna put a scenario out there. 3-2 count with the game on the line. You have to get out and out. What pitch are you going to get an out if the game is on the line?
So I went to this thing so many times this year, and it was such a great pitch for me. Where in years past I had zero confidence in this pitch. I would never throw it, even if the hitter told me he's not swinging. And it's my spike curveball. I used it so many times this year in so many pressure situations, and I came out the other side on the positive end, and extremely happy with the growth of this pitch. From where I started with my curveball all the way till in quarantine last year when I started messing around with the spike curveball, and it was nasty, and so I just started riding with it.
I like it. And I think that shows, how much you really trust your catchers behind the dish in the Colorado Rockies organization. And I think that's, huge that you have the capability to trust, your pitch no matter where it goes, that, the catcher will block it for you without letting it get, past them in the backstop. But before we get into the rapid fire to wrap up this amazing interview, Kyle, I want to ask you about Nolan Arnotto. It was obviously the first season without Nolan. And, business is business. It's going to happen. I'm not going to, throw any shade at, the Colorado Rockies or anything like that. Obviously the Rockies fans were upset. But business has been business. But obviously, Nolan Arnotto is a guy who had a presence of a lot of leadership, and his raw ability to play the game of baseball was obviously out of the water, in my opinion. The greatest third baseman in baseball right now. Did you notice an immediate difference or, change in the locker room presence without Nolan Arenato's leadership in the locker room?
Yeah, there was a little bit, because Nolan's one of those guys that his work ethic is far and above the majority of players out there. His every single day grind is completely different. From the amount of swings that he takes in the cage to BP on the field to working on his craft at third base during BP. He's locked in all the time. And all the dude wants to do is play baseball, and I absolutely commend him for it because watching him work is amazing. So yeah, there's a little bit of difference just because a lot of guys would go to him about some sort of advice, whether it's fielding, hitting, mentality, whatever. But in the same breath, you got to tip your hat to Ryan McMahon for going in, playing third base majority this year, and absolutely doing an incredible job. A lot of people said no one's going to fill those shoes at third base when Nolan left, and I think Ryan did a hell of a job of filling those shoes.
I like it. To wrap up this amazing interview, Kyle, first and foremost for the rapid fire segment, go-to post-game meal.
Go-to post-game meal is probably going to be, especially if it's before a start, it is going to be a lot of pasta and something and with some chicken in there.
Has to get the pasta. And favorite hobby outside of baseball?
For me, that's pretty easy. I love playing golf.
I love it. Go yard off of one pitcher. Who would it be?
Ooh. Walker Buehler.
And Larry Walker just got inducted into the Hall of Fame. Should Todd Helton be in the Hall of Fame?
Yeah, I'd have to say yes. Spending his entire career at the Rockies and him being first place in everything when it comes to records and statistics. Hey, him and Larry are right up there. They're neck and neck on a ton of stuff, and I know Todd's got a bunch of first places. So in my eyes, extremely biased, being a Denver kid, I believe he should.
Yep. And to wrap it up, favorite ballpark you've pitched at?
Favorite ballpark I've pitched at? Yeah, I'd have to say Yankee Stadium. the place is incredible. I got to pitch there one time, fortunately. Unfortunately, it didn't go well for me, but still at the same time, the absolute history of that team and the way their fans just ride and die with them, it was pretty incredible and pretty special.
The New York crowd can be a tough one, but to wrap up this interview, Kyle, with one more question, like I do with every other interview, an interview nomination coming from my interviewee. So, Kyle, if you could, who would be that guy?
So got to think about this throughout the interview. I'll go with my fellow lefty starter, Austin Gomber.
Okay.
Hopefully he jumps on with you. He's a great guy. He's going to give you some great content. You guys going to have a good conversation.
I love that, Kyle. Well, I really appreciate you once again hopping on for this interview via Zoom. Really means a lot. Best of luck in the future, and we'll for sure stay in touch.
Awesome. Sounds good. I appreciate you having me on. What's up, everyone?
What's going on, everybody?
What's going on, everybody?
What's good, everybody?
What's up, everybody?
Hey, everyone.
What's good, everybody?
What's up, Beach Bronies?
What up, y'all?
What's good? It's Ori Tutton here, Terrence Ferguson.
4-star recruit Cole Martin.
This is Rockies pitcher Yancy Almonte.
And I'm Kyle Freeland, starting pitcher for the Colorado Rockies.
This is Xavier Scruggs, former MLB player, current MLB analyst, and content creator.
It's Babe Hall here, top basketball prospect in the class of 2023.
It's NBA and NFL analyst and insider Jordan Schultz.
Drew Jones, Vandy Boy commit.
It's your boy West, producer from Bleacher Report.
This is the King of JUCO here.
DC Sabathia.
And this is Lambo Media.
And welcome to Lambo Media.
Welcome to Lambo Media.
Welcome to Lambo Media.
And I just wanted to welcome you to Lambo Media. Let's get it.
And welcome.
Welcome to Lambo Media.
Welcome to Lambo Media.